Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to Echo Park and your local Buy More. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that today's in-flight entertainment will be a series of various videos and images flashing in front of you. Sure, you might be smelling salt and sulfur, but hey, now you know math.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How you boys doing today?
Get ready for another Max Singer LA East Side Geography spectacular episode.
Oh my God, Rich, how are you, bud?
I'm doing great. Guys, I'm starting to worry. I've made it like a full season into the show, and Charles Barkley hasn't shown up once.
Oh my God. And Max, before I welcome our audience in, Max, it's so funny you talk about geography, because the other day, Rich literally sent me a photo of him out and about, and I saw the sign of a restaurant behind him, and I was like, oh, you're by that restaurant that Max talks about, Kismet, right? And he was literally like, oh, it's working. We're brainwashing you into only understanding LA geography.
We're feeding him Google Maps.
Look, it's an important block. You've got a high-end small plates Mediterranean restaurant. You've got a tattoo shop, 4 different vintage stores, overpriced bagels. What more could you ask for?
It would be an important block if we lived in Buffalo, New York.
My God. Well, gentlemen, this week we are going to be talking about the late aughts TV show known as Chuck. But before we do so, and before we dive into more depth, maybe you're here for the first time, maybe you are a frequent flyer. Max, what is this podcast all about?
Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes in making us want to watch more, and if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, as you guys know, the plot of this show hinges on a pretty intense brainwashing of our character Chuck. I want to know, put yourself in some pranking shoes. If you're trying to prank either this group of people or another one of your friends, what are you emailing them to brainwash them and have their mind only fixate on that one thing?
God, Max, I'm going to start off with you.
Ooh, this is tricky. So we're going email mind control specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. So I am going to be hiding Manchurian Candidate sleeper cell activating details in the non-skippable terms and conditions for a new piece of software, like something that you download. Like, okay, you want to get the latest version of Final Draft on your laptop, or you want to get whatever your podcasting hosting platform of choice is, and there's those T's and C's that you cannot get through. Well, as you read through it, as you scroll through to get to the bottom, your brain is being infiltrated with tip-top government secrets, and you have screenwriting software now.
So, not only am I going to be hiding it in the in-flight announcements that happen before every plane ride, right? But also, here's the thing. The information that I'm hiding, I'm going to make it so that you forget about feet, inches, all of the measurement cycles that we use in the US, and you're switched out to the metric system, because I think that would be the funniest goddamn thing for someone to be like, wait, no, you're not 6 feet, you're 2 meters, you're only 2 meters, or you only use stones. You only
I shrunk,
the weight in stones.
Geoff, I wasn't expecting you to be the anti-imperialist host of this show.
You know what? Ronald Reagan chose a system, and he was wrong. And
we watched the Royals 2 weeks ago, and it's changed Jeff's entire worldview. Hold on, I'm calling a hard time out here. I'm changing my answer. I'm Manchurian Candidate someone through a jib jab. Yeah, you're getting sleeper celled from a jib jab.
Yeah.
I can't.
You're gonna blow up the UN because you watched Osama bin Laden do a dance.
I watched George W. Bush do Jingle Bells on repeat a few too many times.
I'm your one aunt still preferred method of sending you birthday greetings.
Is this website still active?
Jib Jab, absolutely.
Sure.
I haven't used it since like pre-Homestar Runner days.
Jib Jab, sponsor the pod. You need the visibility. Come on, just
wait. Actually,
can you imagine these three heads on little sailor?
We
bodies,
just all look like
the
Canadians in South Park doing this podcast together.
Rich, what about you?
I'm sending you guys an encrypted virus file in your emails, and it's gonna make you guys all really into the Chicago White Sox, and it's gonna make you sad at the same time I'm sad.
I was gonna joke that you were gonna fall out of love with the White Sox, just you, with something.
Just me.
Just you.
No, au contraire. I'm now going to make you guys more depressed.
You feel like you have to puke every time you watch the White Sox, which is pretty normal, actually.
Yeah,
but now this is involuntary.
You don't even have to consult your doctor about that one.
Welcome to the sports podcast. Well, Rich, thank you so much for that question of the week. Let's talk a little bit more about Chuck. And we're going to start off with a quick synopsis. Chuck Bartowski, a computer geek who accidentally downloads the entire U.S. government's secrets into his brain. That's not a complete sentence, but we definitely watched a complete pilot.
Oh no, we finally got by a ChatGPT summary.
But Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how this show got made?
Today we are talking about the pilot episode of Chuck, titled Chuck versus the Intersect, which originally aired on September 24th, 2007 on NBC. We're talking about the show's creator, Josh Schwartz, a bit more today. It's our third time discussing Schwartz here on TVPL, with wonderful episodes on The OC and Gossip Girl in our archives for those interested in learning more about his work. Premiering just a week after Gossip Girl on the CW, the origins of Chuck begin with a pitch to Schwartz from Chris Fedek, a college friend of his.
Wait. So he had two shows at the same time with main characters that named Chuck?
Yeah.
That's...
Do you ever think he got confused?
I don't like that.
Do you ever think he was just like, oh, well, Chuck suddenly, knew where the Pentagon's deepest and darkest secrets were, and you were like, in Gossip Girl? I thought he was drinking a martini.
Look, he's a rich, powerful kid in New York City's elite private schools. He might.
Chuck, I love a Chuck Bass spy thriller. We can't do any more of his shows because we have SNL rules and we have to pitch in on getting him a jacket if he's on 5 times.
Can you imagine, though, having simultaneous writers' rooms for brand new shows on both coasts?
I think it would be a real shock to be fully employed for me.
Oh my gosh.
Alrighty. The show, an action comedy in the vein of the John Cusack film Grosse Pointe Blank or Dan Aykroyd's Spies Like Us, follows an everyman who has the entirety of the CIA and NSA secrets downloaded into his brain. The pitch inks Schwartz a 3-year development deal with Warner Brothers TV, with the concept being sold to NBC with a put pilot commitment. And for our listeners, I feel like I've used this term, put pilot, a couple times now on the podcast, so just jargon corner really quick. This is where a network buys a pitch, they buy a pilot, and it comes with the stipulation that if they do not air that show, if it does not get greenlit the series order, they have to pay a large monetary penalty to the studio behind the series. So in this case, Warner Brothers TV is the ones who are handling Chuck. It gets sold to NBC Universal. If NBC decides we're not going to move forward with it, they owe money to Schwartz and to Warner Brothers TV. It's more or less a guarantee of a show making it to order. That's the end of Max's jargon corner for this week.
I have a question about that. Do they do that just so people can't buy shows and kill them for other networks?
Yeah, for the most part, it's the idea of like, hey, we really like this, or we invested a lot of money in it. You're not just going to make sure that it never sees the light of day just because you don't like the material. And
you'll
it's
see it with big
you.
names, like if a large name creator or like a star's attached to something, so like you're not wasting their time.
They buried my Sunday Night Live, and they'll never get away with it.
Oh my gosh! Well, Max.
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh, he's not done.
Well, oh God.
We're just interrupting.
Yeah.
I'm just doing tangent corners. I'm making up new segments on the fly. This is going to be a 3-hour episode.
Corner.
Wait. Can you add in a Daddy of the Week in this part of the
show? This is where I add in my Daddy of the Week.
Well, we're going to get into that because the first actor cast in this series was none other than the titular Chuck, played by Zachary Levi, who just wrapped up the ABC sitcom Less Than Perfect. Levi beat out one of Schwartz's OC alumni and first choice for the role, Chris Pratt.
What?
Yep.
Go
he
watch
wasn't
season
even,
4 of the OC, and you'll understand why this guy was slated to blow up at this point.
Okay.
The pilot was directed by Mick G, an executive producer and major driving force behind the OC as well, with filming on location throughout Echo Park in Hollywood, but filming shifted to the Warner Brothers backlot after the series was picked up. And that, Geoff, takes us to today's episode.
Wait, Daddy of the Week.
I mean, you could choose between Zachary Levi and Chris Pratt.
Patrick Baldwin. We can have a lot of conversations. Well, let's dive into this pilot a little bit more, and we start with two things. One, for a spy thriller show to start off with a misdirect of fully spy thriller, and two, a party that we can't escape, but acts as our exposition about our main character. I'm curious for the two of you. One, have you ever been to a party that you wanted to leave but couldn't? Which is probably a yes.
Almost two, all of them.
What do you think about this opening?
I think it does a really good job of setting up very quickly two worlds that we're going to exist in, or the notion also of Chuck cosplaying in this other world. We're going to get you your spy details, and then we're going to pull the rug out and introduce you to who the real Chuck is. And we know that we're going to have two very distinct styles. We're going to have two very different looks and ways that we film this, but we're just kind of creating a big picture of what the tone of this is.
Yeah.
Rich, what about you?
This character essentially gets Peter Parkered, basically, where it's just something sudden happens and now he has powers. Now he has this crazy superhuman ability. I think making him socially awkward was a really great choice. We're checking our disbelief 12 minutes and 43 seconds ago. Because you're going to need to suspend a lot of disbelief for the show. And I think having him have a couple moments of being normal is a good thing.
You know what I'm in disbelief of? Whoever was the head of cinematography for this pilot thinking, it's a really good angle to shoot people at, literally 2 inches away from their face, asking questions, because I was not at that party and I had anxiety. And I know that was probably the idea behind it, but also that's a terrible look on TV. It looked awful on the screen in that instance.
That's how I feel anytime I'm high in public. Every single conversation in any circumstance, I don't care who it is, where it is, what I'm doing. If I am high in public, every single conversation feels like that.
Everyone feels 2 inches from my face, and I want to get out of this window. Man, if you were a lanky white guy with curly brown hair and kind of an uptight, nerdish slacker disposition about you,
who likes to hang out around Echo Park.
Josh
he
Schwartz
happens
kept
to be
you booked and busy. Oh my goodness! Because and they all look kind of like him too. But between Zachary Levi, Adam Brody, and Penn Badgley, we have an archetype. And he probably had Chris Pratt come in to read for the role, saw what he looked like, and then looked at himself and was like, this guy doesn't look like me, and immediately had to find a new actor.
No, look, every casting director in 2006 was brought the same exact question: what if J.J. Abrams could fuck? And, and here we go.
Well, talking about fuckable men, let's talk about Bryce Larkin, played by Matt Bomer.
Man, we're getting loose.
Because I was really, not expecting to see Matt Bomer in this.
No,
but
me neither.
Boy, was I pleased. Because this is when we're talking about a spy thriller, right? We're expecting this sort of over-the-top, cheesy action, very much Pierce Brosnan, James Bond coded. And boy, does Matt Bomer deliver. In the 3 minutes he is on screen, I was just like, oh, you know what I really want? a Bryce Larkin TV show. That's what I leave these scenes.
And 2 years later, he gets cast in White Collar, so you got your wish.
I mean, literally, in my notes, I say this was his audition for White Collar. Like, this 3 minutes of screen time that we get, sure, White Collar has a few less explosions, but I'm like, hey, explosions with really bad CGI? I'm all about it.
Yeah, he gets the Richard Kind Award for, oh my God, he's in this?
Who I also want to see in a spy thriller. But You're not wrong, Geoff, because USA Network is owned by NBC Universal. So they had 3 minutes of this hunky dude doing spy thriller shit. And they were like, hold on. We have something here. There's like a little like secret Easter egg that we've gifted ourselves inside this other pilot.
Max, do you want Richard Kind in the James Bond role, or do you want him in the Q role? Because I feel like he'd be a perfect Q.
Oh, I need him as Q or M. I need him either being the weapons guy or I need him being the one who's giving out the missions.
Yeah.
So we do have this, speaking of so many tangents that we've been on in this podcast.
Daddy of the week. Daddy of the week. It's Matt Bomer.
Matt Bomer's leading right now. But let's talk a little bit about what this tangent is supposed to deliver to us, right? We find out via conversation of Chuck that there was this college roommate that he had that was this adored guy at Stanford by the name of Bryce Larkin. We see Bryce kick some ass and then immediately get shot while sending an email to a friend or a long-forgotten acquaintance. And, I mean, I know the point is for us to be lost in this moment of what the hell is happening, but is that something that you're like, yeah, this is what I want in a new pilot or a TV show that I'm watching for the first time? What the hell is happening and why am I here?
Look, we all have random brain spurts of like, oh, I'm thinking about my college roommate for the first time in 10 years. Not for the first time in 10 years, but Alex Burtner, hit me up.
I cannot get over this like Vice video Matrix knockoff, you wouldn't steal a car PSA that Bryce is stuck in with all of these screens behind him.
It is a Pharrell music video in there as soon as he starts hacking.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've definitely seen this in like early 2000s hip hop, like either like Bad Boy or Timbaland or someone.
Yeah.
I mean, we get this visual. We don't really get any understanding about what the fuck is happening during that visual, though. There's not like in here is, I fully expected a goon, right, to just be like, stand here and protect this because this is X, Y, and Z, and we don't want someone to get their hands on it. To see someone experience what I could only call a seizure in a box, and then have the get shot immediately after sending an email, we're sort of all left wondering, just to see the ends of a party, right? And our new friend Chuck, our protagonist, be able to also experience it while giving us even more exposition about why in the world would Bryce email him on today of all days with a wordplay text-based game as well.
There's also a very fun Easter egg to like what the game of this show is going to be with a movie poster in Chuck's bedroom. With he has a large poster of North by Northwest in his bedroom, and that movie is about Cary Grant's character having this case of mistaken identity where they think that he's a government agent. He's being chased down by like, you know, foreign groups, foreign spies, and he has to, you know, meet this mysterious blonde femme fatale who actually ends up like helping to protect him as he navigates the world. And that kind of becomes Chuck. That generally becomes what it is. And it's a fun little, very intentional, but blink and you miss it kind of detail in the room that I do think pays off nicely.
Do you think that this is how that show was initially pitched? Like by Schwartz? Like, do you think it was hey, I want to make a TV adaptation of North by Northwest starring a guy who works for Geek Squad?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's think about studio execs, right? And thinking about like the idea when you are pitched something, even in your daily life, that sounds familiar, right? To something that you like. Boy, are you going to attach it to it a lot more than say, imagine this. I'm going to explain a 5 to 10 paragraph idea to you, and you're going to be like, but what is that like? And it's sort of, well, which is frustrating, but I get it entirely. Talking about things that are like other things without getting sued, let's talk a little bit more about the Nerd Herd, which is definitely not the Geek Squad.
No.
And Chuck's job, or being good at his job, because Rich, Chuck is very good at his job.
Yeah.
We get an entire scene to see how good he is at said job. Are you even more attached to the character because of that?
Yeah, I as someone who used to download music on LimeWire, I'm very familiar with the damage that porn bots can do to your computer. And boy, does Chuck know how to take them down. And I very much appreciate, and it feels like they do kind of hang out in this particular arena, this particular scene too long of just like it. This is yet another example of like TV hour that could have been TV 45 minutes or less. But it is, you also don't really get to hear any of his, like some of his coworkers talk at any point during this pilot, which I thought was very fascinating. But he is an expert computer repair person for the Geek Squad. So he's fixing up all your PCs and whatnot. And it's not an exciting skill. It's watching him do it is not like you want to watch him be good at his job, but that's that might be an exception that proves the rule.
Max, you nodded your head about the scene being maybe a little bit too long. I'd love to hear your thoughts on trying to give us a little bit more color about Chuck prior to mind washing.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me here, though, is I'm generally not interested in the comic stylings of his sidekick Morgan anytime that he's on screen. It's a character that I think almost drags like the nebbishness a little too far into parody territory, because this scene establishes 3 very clear things: that Chuck is good at his job, that he doesn't really have motivation for a higher calling,
and that Tom Green was busy.
Well, and I was going to say that all of being good at his job, like he is a good person. He will find ways to be resourceful to help others, and how we see the father and the daughter with her ballet recital and how he like saves the day there. And we can do all of this without needing 6 other people standing around him and doing all these other audio gags and jokes and fodder and things like that, because we get what we need to know from Chuck just through Chuck.
So what if I gave you guys a theory about why we spent so much time in the Buy More? Because I genuinely think there were so many scenes that cost a decent amount of money from a TV perspective. Doing a car chase, for example, multiple times within this pilot, we have chase scenes. We do have, while this show was filmed on a soundstage, we do have a lot of bigger sets that have a lot of extras on them as well. Doing a scene in a store set is probably pretty cheap, and when you need to fill a TV hour, it's a very easy way to say, well, what if we showed that Chuck was a really good guy?
Yeah, this abandoned Circuit City in Granada Hills is costing us nothing to rent.
They should have turned it into Buckingham Palace.
But we do get this important character that we meet, this Sarah character, who obviously Chuck, while experiencing anxiety around women, seems to have found all of the charm that he had lost previously, and has some form of luck convincing this person who has ulterior motives to a date. I want to skip forward a decent amount. Yes, there's a fight scene that we get that is some interesting choreography and some interesting reveals for us as well. But as much as the show wants to be an action show, it really does a lot of balancing in what I can call Mr. Magoo extra scenes. Because, Max, I'm going to go to you. We are back in Echo Park. We are experiencing something that I loved when I visited Echo Park, which is a Mexican restaurant with a good margarita and, a nice band playing you.
We're talking about El Compadre?
Yeah, we're definitely at El Compadre. So, I mean, does this date seem out of place for a pilot when you're trying to sell an audience on entering this new world every week?
I don't think so, because you do need to establish Chuck as well. And I think where this pilot struggles at times is that it tries to plot its way through things. It tries to just give you large exposition dumps and technology that reminds me of a certain pivotal gag from the new Naked Gun that I won't spoil on this podcast for those who haven't seen it. So having Chuck try to build up this other part of himself, to use his humanity, to go on this date. Yes, it's comic fodder because it's like a fish out of water and she's so much more attractive than him, but we need to also just have character scenes. We need to just kind of like rest the game a little bit, and this is kind of the one moment where Chuck allows that to happen, and the plot device stuff just kind of breathes a little. Yeah,
because up until this point, well, number one, they establish what Chuck wants, or what Chuck's surrounding friend and family group want, and that for him to find a girlfriend. That's been like kind of
sure.
the biggest need up to this point. And then you have all these circular characters of Sarah like being a spy, and Bryce being a spy, and the NSA getting involved and stuff like that. And you have to find a way to smash Chuck and Sarah together. And so what does Sarah need to do? Sarah's going to turn on that charm and try to seduce him. And yeah, it just like I do think for some of these scenes being longer than they should be, which is not a great note that you want for your pilot, because this is where you get to do the most exposition, like on your own, with no other network notes. They do a good job of rounding everything out. Of like, we're putting these two characters together, we're smashing them together for X reason. We are, and every single moment after this is a butterfly effect of what happens, and I think that feels nice from a writer perspective. Can I really quickly highlight the getting ready for this date and the cut between Sarah and Chuck? And I want to give a shout out to the wardrobe department on this show, and I mean this as a compliment. He wears the single worst outfit I've ever seen a man wear in my life. Hell yeah.
He wears the ugliest high crew-necked baby blue and brown overshirt combo I've ever seen on someone, while she is hiding weapons all over her nearly naked body in another much more glamorous apartment. And the fact that every time they cut to Chuck, he's basically just adjusting one button on his shirt while she's doing all these elaborate things to get ready. That is funny to me. That we have such a long cut between them getting ready with an absolute 2007 ass song by the band Jet blasting in the background.
Oh, Jet being the needle drop for this exact moment. It's like when you hear CCR now and you think about Vietnam footage. I just like, anytime I hear Jet, I think about being 13.
It takes me back. I'm not gonna lie. I was listening to, I had my shuffle on my music device, and Jet came on, and I was just like, hell yeah! And I rolled down my windows, and I was like, full on blasting it with volume maxed in my car.
Jeff, I will. You are a cold hard bitch, and you will always be that way.
Yeah. No.
Since you said music device, I assume you have a Neil Young Pono or perhaps a Microsoft Zune.
Wait, why do you know the Pono?
Because I'm an audiophile, Rich.
I just found out about that last year.
that is what I have. Well, let's talk a little bit about the ensuing chase. We sort of mentioned it a little bit. Chuck is a very valuable man. These secrets that were sort of... Actually, I want to talk about this really quickly. Chuck has these moments where we start to understand that something has happened because of the video that has gone on in his head, where he suddenly knows the whereabouts of a very important government figure, just based off of small words and clues that are given to him without his control. Do you feel like the show does a good enough job early explaining what's happening to Chuck? Or do you think that they possibly needed to do more?
I don't really know how you could do more without just beating it over the head. Like, I think that you have to reach a point where it does the pouty thing of, now I'm going to blatantly explain what's happening to you on this rooftop in Los Angeles. But there's no way to hit you over the head with that earlier and have it not feel ham-fisted. Like, you have to do it with a gun pointed at him on top of an LA rooftop. Like, that's the only way that you can explain the game. You can't do it any earlier than that.
Yeah, that's how I learned most of my information. Is I go up on the rooftop, someone points a gun at me and explains it to me.
That's why we don't record more. Rich is just like, I'm on this rooftop and I can't get down.
Yeah.
They locked me up here.
Unless you throw my laptop up on the helipad, I'm not getting it. Yeah, I do think like they have done okay. I had an issue with this scene in particular, or like the surrounding elements of this scene in particular, because like, why are the CIA and NSA fighting? They both work for the same government.
Or do they?
Oh shit! Yeah, but they didn't even hint that they, like, you know, Bryce was a rogue agent or whatever, which led to like it feeling like Sarah is also one, but also. They work for the same government. That's a lot of paperwork if they're going to kill each other.
There's a great moment earlier in this episode when they first cut to the CIA director's office, played by the legendary horror actor Tony Todd of Candyman and the Final Destination franchise.
Fuck yeah.
And they just kind of like pan the camera gently, and through the big windows he's standing in front of, you just see the White House right there. To tell you that we're in DC.
Yeah. The Pentagon is inside the White House. That's what people don't want you to know.
So we've gone off on another tangent, but I want to talk about this car chase.
No, it's Todd time. We're talking about Tony Todd's best roles.
Only Candyman from here on out. Let's talk a little bit about this chase that happens, because we get to see a little bit more of the idea of Sarah being this ultimate spy for the CIA. With a wildly choreographed scene in a dance club, with dancing that I could only call sensual yet deadly, and a car chase of that, you know what, I'm gonna say it, I love the car chase scene in this pilot, because seeing that nerd herd car get the shit kicked out of it,
I know,
and then only for it to end with seeing a Tahoe absolutely beat his shit from some clever knife play.
After watching The Italian Job, I only want to see car chases with cars that can't get above 120 horsepower.
We've seen the IndyCar car chase, and we're tired of it. Slower cars, slower car chases.
Slow them down. I want episode 2 of Cougar Town to be a golf cart car chase.
No, with the limiters off. We'll give you that. The limiters are no longer on the golf carts. Max, I want to hear from you as far as this big action scene that NBC is trying to deliver on. How do you think they do?
I mean, anytime you have a car chase through the streets of LA, you're going to scratch a very particular itch for me. But I think that you need to just keep finding ways to make Chuck a fish out of water at this point. Like, once we're kind of beginning to establish that he's different, he's understanding that he's different, now we just have to throw him into situations. And that's kind of what the whole back half of this is. And that's why I think the date is effective, because it's like the one chance to rest this and talk about him as a character before we just get into, we throw him into plot points. But the way we kind of like mad dash to get to this rooftop, I do think it's fun. I do think it's effective. And I do think that it brings a level of danger, because there's nothing that he can do about it at this point. He's just kind of getting thrown around by like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Rich, what about you?
Me in particular, I love the action elements of this show a lot, and like you said, Geoff, probably the reason that we're stuck inside Buy More for quite a lot of this pilot. It's like we Chuck ate all the budget, so there will be no fourth NBC comedy this year.
I literally have to pay for the repairs to that car, and that's an entire day shooting.
There's that one moment where Sarah throws the knife to trigger the what is it, the ballasts or whatever, what are those things called?
The
like
car stoppers is what I call them in the back of my head.
Yeah, Geoff, the car stoppers.
Car stoppers.
and
the parking lot sticky weapons.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right from at that exact moment, I was like, oh, that's fucking clever. That's really good. I like that a lot.
It was really cool.
I was like, how's she going to turn them on? How's she going to turn them on?
Yeah, exactly. That moment alone where I was just like, I've seeing a very fun, like, oh, this is someone's skill set and they're really good at it in a spy movie is always really fun and really cool. And to be able to sort of see the idea of, and this pilot does set it up very well, right? For Chuck being the asset that he is potentially to the government or non-government, in all honesty, you have to have that person who is the brawn, right? To Chuck's brain, even though it's an involuntary brain. Right. And having Sarah be that is a really fun, clever twist on something that we've probably gotten really used to, of like, oh, well, it's two men, or it's the big, strong guy who's protecting the woman who has the government secrets.
You have to make Sarah a character that you would want to see a show that just focused on her. Mm-hmm. Like, she has to be that good to offset how schlubby Chuck is.
Yeah.
I have a plot question for you guys. Can you think of why they can't kill Chuck? Because at the same time, like, he knows a bunch of government secrets, but doesn't the government also know the government secrets?
Well, I think what they're trying to imply, because we do have this scene, right, where Chuck says, I can't, you have to agree with me, I have all these secrets and stuff like that on a helipad in the middle of downtown LA, it looks like.
They gotta exchange information.
Yeah, the way that it is implied to me, and if you're a big Chuck fan or a Chuckhead, Chucklehead.
Yeah, if you're a Chucklehead,
if you're a Chucklehead, make sure to get in the comments and tell me I'm wrong. But the way that it is implied to me is a lot of the secrets that Chuck has are multinational in this sense. So it's not just the U.S. secrets that he has. It is not just. It is he has all of the secrets. Like, you have a secret, boy, does Chuck have it in his brain right now.
And this is why you need to write them down.
Yeah.
If you have government secrets, write them down on hard copies and keep them in a place where you won't forget where they are. Make sure that you can easily find them.
You go to the bank and you get a safe deposit box.
Sticky notes, your fridge. These are places to keep government secrets.
Yeah, that's our ADHD version of Memento for me and Geoff. Sticky notes fucking everywhere.
Write them on your arm. That's a common thing for me. Let's talk about the end of this pilot, because it comes to us in two parts, right? We have Chuck saving the day with a callback to a porn joke that was used earlier, and getting the idea that maybe Chuck isn't a spy, but he can still be useful. But then our ultimate ending is finding out that while Chuck is going to have to live his everyday life in addition to being a government asset in this instance, should he really trust the people who've surrounded him? And they're fully inserting themselves into what once was a very normal, non-extraordinary life. So with that being the ending of the pilot, how does it leave you two off?
I mean, me personally, any final sequence that begins with the line, we're the good guys, we get paid to stop bombs from exploding, you're already kind of having to dig yourself out of a pretty nasty grave there. I mean, this resolves itself comically fast in this hotel ballroom.
Right.
Because, you know, we had to spend 40 minutes with the nerd herd in order to get here. I don't know. Like, on one hand, it's fun to see Chuck not use his new skills, but use something that's like innate and known to him to save the day. Like he solves it by being Chuck, not by being a government agent or like a weapon in a way, which is a little endearing. But it wraps up so quick, and for it to be your big finale centerpiece, I don't know if I ever really felt the emotional like stakes. Like, I don't know if I ever felt the danger in that room, because it wraps so fast, and everyone's kind of just like hanging out in the ballroom while he's trying to defuse this bomb. I don't know, like the heightened stake never got there for me.
Yeah, I did like it felt very like typical hero's journey to have Chuck solve the problem by using his exceptional skills, and I did very much like that. I was going to mention that as my thing I liked about the podcast, or about the pilot in general. I mean, yeah, I feel like we're all kind of like hit or miss on this. Like if you had to, he went to Stanford, he cares a lot about grades, clearly. What grade are you giving this this pilot? A through F? Like what are you giving it?
God. I'll you know what? I'll give it a solid B-. I'll explain a little bit more about why, because after reading a little bit more on the history of the show, I think I have a really good understanding of why this show exists, and why it existed, but I want to talk about that. But I want to hear from you two, and then I want to talk about things that we loved after we grade the show.
Yeah.
I would say a B- as well. I think that it makes some really compelling points, but I think it gets a little bit bogged down in how it defends itself and states its case to get to those points.
Yeah.
Rich, what about you?
I think I'm going C- because the parts that felt too long do not give enough exposition and do not give you enough of a reason to care. And I think the way that this finishes up is like not a good enough cliffhanger where I'm like, oh, but he's still going to have to be at Bymore, which is like the most boring part of the show. Every single episode, like you can't take Chuck out of Bymore. So yeah, for me, it just kind of sets it up to be not that exciting.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the things that we loved, things about this pilot that you'd like to give a little bit more shine to. Max, were there any things that you loved about this pilot you wanted to talk about more in depth?
I mean, I need to give a shout out to, in Josh Schwartz fashion, we have a big ol' soundtrack to start off this pilot. And while I don't think it's as strong as some other Schwartz shows in its music right away, it's clear that it plays a really big, important role for it. We get needle drops from Journey with Any Way You Want It.
Right.
There's a kind of Remember Some Guys Swedish like electro dance punk band called Teddy Bears that gets a big needle drop in this. We have Beck. We have some like spaghetti western film scores incorporated into here. We've talked about Jet already. It's still evident how much Schwartz wants to make music be a part of his storytelling, and Chuck is no exception to that.
And am I mistaken in that they kind of kept a rolling needle drop of Gone Daddy Gone by the Violent Femmes in there too? Do I remember that correctly, or is that the the electropop thing?
Just something of that style. It may be something called Cobra Style by Teddy Bears.
Okay.
That's a band that I haven't thought about in like 15 years until we did this episode.
I haven't thought about the Violent Femmes in quite a long time either.
Rich, what about you?
So yeah, I mean, for me, it was like a nice warm hug to feel the resolution of Chuck solving the issue with the porn virus, like shutting down the computer. Like it felt just like it felt goofy, and it felt kind of true to what the show isn't originally intended to be, and this fact that like, yeah, it's kind of a goofy thing to manage, and like Chuck's not going to be like he's not necessarily going to like change up his personality to be this to solve these issues, and yeah, it was like a nice warm hug to see it resolved that way.
Sure. For myself, I think that Zachary Levi's performance in this, I think, is exactly like there's obviously a charm with the dude. He is charming as hell in this show, and I think that for this pilot, especially for why do we care about Chuck, I get that in the entirety of the script of like, there's some ways that I think we could care about Chuck a little bit more, but there were scenes where I was like, well, yeah, I want Chuck to be happy, and like, yeah, Chuck deserves this date, even though Sarah doesn't really want to be on it as of this moment in time. So for a TV hour for me to be like, all right, Chuck, like, hell yeah. I think that's a really, well done by Schwartz when writing this, because there's very much a thing that drove up my C- to a B-, and I think that Zachary Levi was definitely a part of that. Let's talk a little bit more about wait a minute moments, things that caused you pause. I'm going to start. This show wants to be a workplace comedy so damn bad.
I love when Geoff starts.
It wants to be a workplace comedy so damn bad. Like all of the Buy More scenes, introducing us to Chuck's arch nemesis, played by C.S. Lee, is wild. We did not need that. We did not need to meet Big Mike in this pilot. We could have very much just shot for 10 minutes in the Buy More and then been like, hey, you have to keep your job. We still have that ending scene. And then we're like, oh, we'll be here occasionally. But like, it's sort of like the idea of when you watch Friends and you're like, well, we don't really stay at their jobs that much. It's like a small part of each of the episodes. Like, yeah, that's because I don't give a shit about what you do unless it is fully your identity.
Yeah.
And if you're saying that Chuck's identity is he is nerd herd, come on. Come on, my guy. Let's try a little bit more.
Your job doesn't define who you are.
Wait,
Not according to Josh Schwartz. It absolutely defines Chuck.
Wait, Geoff, that actually blends into mine because in the writing aspect of that, feeling you just said right there, Chuck is not an active character. And the one note, I haven't taken many writing classes, but the one note that our former guest of the show, Andrew Kimmler, came on and said is that your protagonist has to have action to it, and Chuck is a very passive character. It is not he gets dragged into absolutely everything except for his job, and the only reason people are going to work is because they need money. It's like that's not that really like compelling of a reason to follow him. He like doesn't do a lot when he's at home. He's afraid of talking to people. It is like a complete lacking in action. But the other wait a minute moment I had is that blink and you'll miss it. This is the least active Costco in the entire planet. They found a Costco and told everyone that there was a bomb in the building because it is fucking empty.
Low key, though, I want to go back to things that I love. This was one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie.
Oh, yeah?
This was one of the highest tension, or in this pilot, this was one of the highest tension scenes in the pilot. It was that moment of like, I'm going crazy, or I feel like I'm being chased. That paranoia that we want in a spy show, and it delivered. And that's really, really fun in the lowest number of actors in any scene in this entire pilot. Max, what about you? Wait a minute moments.
I mean, I'm going in a completely different direction from both of you guys. Ooh. My wait a minute moment goes to Sarah. What are you doing ordering a martini in a dirty rock venue at a concert?
Hell yeah, dude.
There's no way that you are getting a glass with that shape and that liquid distribution in a little rock club in what's supposed to be the Echo at Echo Park, very clearly. This is insane. No, your choices are beer in a can or beer in a cup. Get out of here. I don't care that you're a secret agent, so you have to have the official cocktail of secret agents, which is a martini. This is a ludicrous drink order at a venue of this size. Just be normal.
Yeah, this is Christoph Waltz spotting the incorrect 3 in Inglourious Bastards. It's like, you don't really belong here. You ordered a martini. You ordered a martini at the fucking Echo during what, emo night Brooklyn?
That poor bartender getting his ears blown out by the band they're seeing has to blow dust off of his book of recipes to make sure he knows how to do this. You're really telling me you want
to listen to Avril Lavigne while drinking a martini, you dumb bitch?
Actually, let's not shit on that because that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, don't yuck my yum, Geoff.
Okay.
Well, they can't. They can't make martinis during Avril Lavigne night because it's too complicated.
No.
Thank you so much.
That's called rounding it out, Max.
Well, we have one more question. It's an in-flight question. Our in-flight question this week comes from Joan in Georgia, and Joan asked, "You can have the full library of knowledge about one subject available to you at all times, but it involuntarily comes up. What subject are you going to have downloaded onto your brain?"
This is like your own choose your own personal hell.
Choose your own ADHD adventure. Like what?
Yeah, this is true. I know a lot of people with autism who have this exact superpower.
Right.
I have talked about Eastern European politics at parties with people who are like exactly like this.
All right, Max, what are you thinking?
Oh man,
Choose your autism, Max.
I'm going full Chuck brain on Julia Child's The Art of French Cooking.
Oh shit! Okay, wait, but it has to come up when you don't want it.
So Max is just like, you have to put the oven to 375 degrees when you're making the chicken.
There's just roasts and braises popping in front of my eyeballs at all times.
Oh fuck! Okay, I love that.
Rich, what about you?
Wow. Boy, how do I do this in a way that's not like something that already happens in my own brain? I think it'd be pretty stupid to know all of the Oscar winners for everything, all the Oscar winners and nominees.
You stole
actually, I did.
Because really, I was thinking about like, there's times in my life where I'm like, what are the invasive thoughts that I have the most fun with, right? Because this is an invasive thought exercise, right? Like, what are the ones that you are okay popping into your mind and being like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I was just like, oh yeah, sometimes I think about the Oscar nominees for original song, and I'm just like, oh, that competed against that? That's fucking awesome. When You Believe was against The Prayer in 1998, and like that, it's one of the most stacked Oscar competitions ever.
Totally.
And no one knows about it except for me, and I only care about that.
Louis Vertel, if you're listening, please come on the pod.
I'll throw that in, and also just knowing, I think it would actually be very fun knowing, like, every person who's been drafted in the NFL by their draft position would just be hysterical to me, because
insane.
That's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, and if you were just like, oh yeah, Brian Westbrook was a 3rd round pick out of Villanova and people thought he was undersized, it's just like, yeah, of course, Geoff, like, you go back onto your day.
Oh my goodness, if your brain was just taken over by knowing the names of like offensive linemen from D3 schools who were taken late in the 7th round of the 1989 NFL draft.
But also involuntary, right? So it just pops up to your head. And
Babe,
you're just
why can't you sleep? Byron Leftwich.
Ty Freifogel. Well, Joan, thank you so much for that in-flight question. Let's talk a little bit more about the history of the show. This show had 5 seasons and 91 episodes, all of which were on NBC. The show premiered with at number 65 as its highest rating, with about 8.68 million million viewers. It's not users. Now you're probably wondering, hey, this was an NBC show that started in like a little bit before streaming in general. That seems like a lower number. It competed directly against Monday Night Football for the first 4 seasons.
I thought you were going to say it was Lost or something.
No, so when you're thinking about, oh, cool, how could a network keep a show like this around when you're only getting 8.68 million viewers? You're getting everyone who's not really interested in football tuning in, and you're just hoping that you got the right, you drew the right straw. That's not to say this wasn't a battle to keep around every single season. It sounds like there were very large negotiations, and Josh Schwartz was super smart about like bringing the panel to Comic-Con, right? To show like, see, these are all of our fans, and you don't want to like alienate these people, right? And like they would do a lot of that. The 5th season, just to give you guys an idea of how excited NBC was about renewing it, was the dreaded Friday 8 p.m. slot, because they just wanted to get it over with, and they delayed it multiple times. So they basically were like, you have a mid-season premiere in October.
In the same year, they tried Friday Night Football.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as the rest of the show, though, there are DVDs. NBC actually did a really cool thing where you could go inside of Chuck's brain when they were trying to develop My NBC, where you could like tag your favorite shows and get like news about them.
Oh, wow.
This was when like every company had to have a website that was like cool and interactive. Boy, did NBC make that choice. They also they partnered directly with Apple to make this one of the first iTunes downloadable TV shows for your video iPod, which is really, really fun.
I remember watching the rest of development on mine.
It's a great promotion. But let's get to the main thing. Let's talk about awards. 30 nominations and 9 wins. That includes 2 Emmy wins for stunt coordination and 2 surfboards for Teen Choice Awards.
Yeah, but have you ever tried to go from Echo Park to the beach? They're never going to get used.
Never go to the beach. If you live in LA, don't do it. You're never going to make it.
You're never going to go.
You're never going to go. You're never going to make it. It's a hassle to get there. Where are you going to park? But gentlemen, that is the history of this show. Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
Well, you know how at the very beginning of this episode, I was wondering where the hell Charles Barkley was? I found him. It's time for it's time for Charles Barkley trivia, baby.
Yeah, listen up, knuckleheads.
Yeah, we're landed in San Antonio, so it's time for some Chuck trivia. All right, so that's right. Our Auburn University king, the round mound of rebound himself, Charles Barkley, was an eccentric player, to say the least, but he also cared very much about his looks. Charles was known by his teammates to put Vaseline where on his body during games in case his lips got chapped. A, slathered on his head. B, inside his belly button. C, inside his sweatbands. D, inside his nose.
I don't want to play anymore.
I'm going to say a little bit of Vaseline inside the nose.
What do you got, Jeff?
The belly button. I'm going to call it. It's the grossest option, and I hope it's right.
Yeah, it's the grossest option, and it is the correct one. He got called out on panel by one of his former teammates that he used to do that during games in case his lips got chapped.
That's insane.
It's the craziest thing. Boy, if you ever just want to waste a couple hours, look up fun facts about Charles Barkley, because boy,
Chuck, I know you're an avid listener. Who taught you that? That was not something you just picked up. Someone just told you, you know where you keep Vaseline? Your belly button. And you were just like, yes? Are you kidding me? Like, what is going on here?
What do you think about that, Jeff? Charles Barkley, for the end of every NBA season, would A, have his accountant write off all of his league fines for fighting as expenses. B, keep his golf clubs in a freezer and then throw them out to play and then thaw them out to play all summer. C, unplug all the TVs in his house and put them in the backyard. D, buy an entire cow for the purposes of barbecuing all summer.
I'm going to go with the golf clubs one, because I do know he's a pretty avid golfer.
I'm going to go with the TVs.
He would have his accountant write off all of his fighting fines.
Oh, that's so smart.
Successfully. He got tax write-offs for fighting. But yeah, that's all I got for Charles Barkley trivia. Boy, he used to there's a lot that I didn't put in on this. He used to get so nervous watching games on TV that he would chew through TV remotes to the point where they stopped functioning.
You know, I didn't know Charles Barkley and my dog have something in common, which is chewing through TV remotes, but you know,
Charles Barkley is just my dog.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Rich, thank you so much for that game of the week. Gentlemen, as our flight starts coming to a land, I have 2 questions for you. The first is, you know, we talked about Chuck, we gave it grades even, but would you give this show one more episode based off of the pilot and the pilot alone? And then my second question is, this is a very unique type of show, right? In the sense of we're trying to do a lot of things all at once, but specifically under the veil of being a spy thriller. Do you think that you want more spy thrillers done by major networks, or maybe just leave those for the big screen? So, Max, I'm actually going to have you start us off today.
Oh, shit.
This is going to be a pass for me. The show is called Chuck, and I think the person I'm the least engaged with is the man named Chuck. And it just suffers from, I think, trying to plot its way through this pilot. I feel like it drags at times. And while there's some very fun and very well directed sequences, I think that might be more attributed to McG at the helm than what we're putting on the page.
For sure.
For your second question, yes, more spy thrillers. Yes, more fish out of water spy thrillers. Yes, more unexpected ways to play these types of games. I think that they are super fun. I love action, heist, spy stuff personally. Just, it wasn't this one for me this week.
Rich, what about yourself?
Yeah, same thought process on that, Max. However, I have this hunch that this is one of those shows where the pilot is not indicative of the rest of the show. And I feel like it was struggling to find its footing. I feel like the reasons why we're here are a little soft, but I feel like it gets more exciting. And I feel like they actually figure it out because, like, I think Zachary Levi, maybe he almost did this kind of as a disservice by being, like, too on TV good looking for this character. And so that's why he's my nomination this week for Daddy of the Week. But no, they needed to pick a particular direction with Chuck that they did not, that does not work for me. But I feel like they do figure it out later. I mean, I just have that hunch about it. So I would give it another episode, but I don't think I would give it very long if they don't figure it out.
So let me start off with based off of the pilot and the pilot alone. I would not watch more of this show because there are other shows that do what this show is trying to do in a focused manner, I think better,
right?
If that makes sense. And those are readily available and easy to watch. That being said, Rich, you are right. I have seen every episode of this show.
I knew it.
With that, and
he's a chucklehead.
He's
been a secret chucklehead this whole time.
I've been a secret chucklehead this entire time. And let's just start off with this. I was super excited with the idea of watching this show for our podcast because it is something that I have, those early 2000s glasses on, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a new show to add to my rotation. And it's one of those pilots that you're like, ooh, there were a lot of things we were trying to do there. And sometimes, you don't want a Swiss Army knife. You want just a real knife. And I think that this is something that this show fell into in the pilot and found its footing later. As it had 5 seasons. It nearly had 100 episodes of TV. It has a very, very, enthusiastic fan club as far as like people who love this show and loved this show. As far as more spy stuff on TV, yeah. As far as more fish out of water, base shows, absolutely.
We all say no more fishes out of water. No. Everyone has to fit into their environment perfectly.
Regardless of your size fish, you will stay in the nearest pond.
The thing for me is I think that one of the things that I love watching on TV recently is like really good fight choreography is something that I will just sit down and watch. The movie might be bad or the TV show might be bad, but like
I keep telling you that's UFC, Geoff. That's not a TV show.
I know. But like when I watch it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Sometimes I sit down and watch the TV show and I was like, well, that wasn't for me, but that scene was for me. And I think that we are falling into the trap of that only being for like Marvel movies or people thinking it's only for that sort of stuff. Make it for original ideas. You're going to have people flock into that shit. I don't just like Dum Dum TV where it's explosions. I like Dum Dum TV where it's people fighting in hallways as well. Well, gentlemen, that is our flight. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks find you wherever you'd like to be found. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me shooting someone in the chest and then saying, don't move. You can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy from Max and myself at Dadwagon Comedy over on TikTok.
Max?
You can find me on the Sunset Boulevard stretch of Echo Park and on all things social media at Maxwell Saying.
You can find me yelling at people ordering martinis at the Echo, but if you're looking for me on
You're
social
holding up the
media,
line.
you can find me at Run Jeff Run. If you're looking for the TV Pilot's License, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thank you for liking, subscribing, leaving us reviews. You can also see our smiling faces on YouTube and follow us on social media. If you have a question about the show or for our next episode, you can absolutely submit an in-flight question at tvpilotslicense.com or give us a call, leave us a voicemail, or shoot us a text at 213-290-1713.
Text us your daddy of the week every week.
Please, if we can make that
do
a
it.
segment,
Just do it.
if we can do it, we'll do it. Make sure to watch out for our Instagram for sneak previews of some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the plane landed and the seatbelt sign off, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you soon. Until then, keep your eyes on the skies and your fingers on the dial.
Chuck is the computer. Ugh.